Holy Cobra! Batman. Tiki here, and I have been watching through each and every episode of Batman Beyond for the first time. Dragon, tell them why we're here.
Well, you see, folks, long ago, I made a vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham in a way, but that was the past, and we must now enter the Batman's future.
That's right, and tonight we are talking about Season 2, Episode 21, Plague. Yeah, get your hand sanitizers and facial masks ready, Dragon. All right. Dragon, I'm really not big on this one. And this
I
is
had a
probably,
feeling.
yeah, this is probably not a surprise to you because I really didn't like the first episode with the Stalker. I will say I do like the Stalker in this episode better than I liked him in the first episode. I'm a sucker for a good villain hero team up and a villain redemption of sorts. I'm a sucker for that kind of story, so I did like that element of it. That being said, Dragon, as you can tell by my very exaggerated holy this episode, I am not crazy at all about how it's like, hey, yeah, let's just throw in like literal G.I. Joe bad guys and have them dressed in like ridiculous costumes and have them, be such G.I. Joe bad guys that they're basically bioterrorists. That and the fact that Dragon, this episode is an enigma of an episode to me because frankly, it is the first episode that we've come across where it literally feels like all of Conroy's lines could have been stock dialogue. Like Conroy, there was not a great Conroy moment in here, Dragon. He talked a few times, but it was very, very, very surface level. So yeah, man, there's a lot going on in this episode. I kind of feel like I would have liked it more if the emphasis would have been strictly on Batman and the Stalker kind of, working hand in hand, because that is the part of the episode that I do actually genuinely like. But I got to be honest with you, pretty much everything else around this episode, pretty weak. I mean, for my money, I don't know if this is the weakest episode we've covered so far, but it's definitely among the weakest of season 2 at the very least, for my money. But again, a couple good scenes with, Batman and the Stalker getting along, which frankly is a really weird sentence to say. Look at Batman and the Stalker getting along, Dragon. All right. Okay, Kogios says the fact that this show used false face is as random as it is cool. Now, Dragon, I know based on the video description, it's false face is a from the '60s show. You're gonna have to explain to me the kind of like the difference between false face and Clayface, because frankly, this guy basically just came off as a more lame version of Clayface to me. That was another thing that just wasn't working for this episode for me. So I will throw it to you, sir. I'm sure there's probably a bunch of weird exposition for this one.
Yeah. All right. So the director that worked on this was the great Butch Lukic, who did episodes like Golem, did Final Cut, and Once Burned.
You see, I did like all of those. I really like Gollum, from what I remember.
Yeah. Let's see. The writer on this was Rich Fogel. He did Bloodsport, which was the introduction of Stalker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's Stalker, not the Stalker.
Okay, fair enough.
I know the Stalker sounds better, but just and an Eyewitness, which was a really good episode. Rich Fogel has
Eyewitness was a great episode. Yeah.
Studio worked on this. Tiki, just get the fainting couch ready.
Oh my
okay,
God.
It was Coco with a little bit of Dong Yang.
God damn it, Dragon. Next thing you're going to tell me you're actually looking forward to Deadpool 3. Then I'll be really shocked.
I don't want to give away all my secrets now.
Oh, God.
All right. So, the last we saw the Stalker, Stalker to be all technical. All right. So last we saw Stalker, was in Bloodsport, and if you recall, as I noted, intended to die initially.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, ran over by a train, and we did like the wince thing with Batman, where he looks like he saw something. So this is definitely a retcon. This episode, like, we wanted Stalker back. We had basically a premise probably before we had like really like a grand, like, no one's really gonna. I figured, I guess no one's really was gonna care. They just wanted to see Stalker again. It was like, well, the villain, we seemingly
Was he
kill off
that
the Joker.
popular? Or was it like,
I,
was he popular in the writer's room?
I suspect what happened was they loved working with Carl Lumbly.
Oh, that makes sense. That totally
Which,
makes
yeah, it
sense.
does make sense given that he
Yeah.
becomes the Martian Manhunter. So seemingly,
For
that's
sure.
I can't say with autonomy, but it really feels like they just really liked working with Carl Lumbly, and they saw like a buddy, basically a buddy adventure opportunity with Batman's. Like, who can we pair Batman with? That would be kind of more like more in the Rogues Gallery side of things. Well, I mean, Stalker would be really good for this.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, as I said, bit of a retcon there. So, as far as our villains for this episode, so Cobra, the organization Cobra, believe it or not, predates the GI Joe Cobra.
You know what? I do believe it, but I don't believe that they did take influence from the 80s version.
Well, of course they did. I was saying, though, in terms of the look and the whole gimmick.
Right, yeah.
I
believe in the comics they did predate G.I. Joe, but
I mean, here's the thing. As far as Cobra Commander and the organization goes, I mean, it predates the animated show, but I can't tell you about the action figure line. I don't know if the original.
I'm pretty sure, as was the case with a lot of stuff with Hasbro, I'm pretty sure the action figure line and the cartoon came out pretty simultaneously. There were like old school GI Joes back in the day, but I don't think any of the Cobra Commander stuff was in canon yet.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, back in the day, GI Joe essentially was the action Ken doll, and
right.
Because of that, I think it was.
I don't think there was any GI Joe lore in those days.
I think essentially they were awesome Green Army men back in the days, and like they were intended to go up against Russians and commies, and essentially World War II bad guys.
Walt Disney's favorite kind of action figure.
Yes. Anywho, but yeah, so they predate the anime, like the full-on Cobra, GI Joe. But it was the Kirby era, which is kind of why we have like the snake design, kind of the look on these costumes. Of course, Bruce Timm loves Jack Kirby, and they definitely like to squeeze as much Jack Kirby as they could. And Batman Beyond of all shows, I mean, they get in there a lot, especially with Superman season 3. But yeah, it's like a little bit of like they had the big get of like, hey, Marvel ticked off Kirby and he wanted to leave, so DC kind of took him, and they had like a bunch of wild kind of ideas along the way. Or let's see, so False Face. Oh, there's a story for you.
Code Geass is saying False Face appeared in a comic before he appeared in the '60s show,
which I was about to get into. Yeah.
Okay.
So False Face, he was basically in like a one-shot story from 50s era Batman. If it was like towards the tail end of the 50s, because of that, they're looking for for foes and stuff and villains of the week in the Batman comics of the era. 60s Batman, the Bill Dozier production, they're pulling a False Face, and interestingly. So, of course, the main reason why False Face is in this is Bruce Timm loves 60s Batman as well, which is presumably why we fold in a little bit of 60s Batman here and there, and that's how we get like stuff like Ma Mayhem and stuff we've covered already there. But Clayface actually predates False Face. However, it was a similar gimmick. See, what happened was Clayface, the Basil Carlo Clayface, who was the actor. Of course, traditionally Clayface is an actor, right?
Yes.
Yes, so that's the thing. So Basil Carlo was the original name of the first Clayface, and he was essentially just a serial killer who wore a horror movie. Basically, he was like Lon Chaney as a serial killer.
Oh,
that's who Clayface was. But he literally wore his costume or like makeup from the movie, and like it was a mystery of who's killing everyone.
Right.
So that's initially what Clayface was, and there wasn't a true shape shifting component there, from what I understand. Back in the 40s, it was just like an actor wearing makeup. And Batman the Animated Series did kind of a nod to this, where we start just molding the face, and then it kind of goes on from there. Which you can kind of tell they kind of like reach back for here with like how False Face works in this episode.
Yeah, it's interesting because with False Face, we've got like a similar sort. It's almost like with this climax, which I don't want to get too into, but it's almost like they took the basic philosophy of a Clayface episode from Batman the Animated Series, which was, very memorable, fucked up, distorted animation. And they kind of applied it to like a realistic, almost Nolan-ized kind of like vision of Clayface, which I thought was really interesting.
No, absolutely, and that's the thing. So Clayface originally was Bezzacarlo, who was just an actor who was basically dressed up in essentially his costume, getting revenge when he was recast in the movie or something. They were making basically he was getting revenge on Hollywood and like the cast or something along those lines. Anyway, so Matt Hagen, the second Clayface, which is where they got the name for the animated series, that Clayface was the shapeshifter. So basically he was a guy looking for treasure. He kind of landed in some a chemical, and he was able to shapeshift his entire body.
Oh,
So when they did Batman animated series, they combined the best clay faces, which essentially were those two. Basically, let's take the actor gimmick, which is a really good idea. Let's take we traditionally associate Clayface with a shapeshifter. Let's meld them together, and there you go. So anyway, so the point being, as Code Geass anime fan notes here, Falseface's actor Malachi Thorne actually guest starred in an episode of the new Batman Adventures.
now tell me that guy doesn't sound like a Batman villain in his own right, just that name.
Well, it sounds a lot like Rupert Thorne.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And then Malachi, it sounds like, it sounds like Malekith almost.
Well, yes. Now here's the interesting thing. Okay, in the '60s Batman episode in which he played Falseface, I don't know if you ever heard about this. I actually won a trivia contest with this.
Oh, okay.
So that actor was not credited as part of the mystique of Falseface for the two-parters, and like in the credits for '60s Batman, it was like like question marks, like that's
That's fun.
That's what his credits. The actor wasn't really. I forget if the actor was nonplussed by that or not. But
My favorite
way
for movies to do that is just to have the famous as themselves credit.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. So essentially, actually, if I'm trying to remember if it was question marks or if it was just as himself, but essentially that's essentially what they did. So anyway, so that's how we get Falseface there. And Falseface's gimmick in '60s Batman was he wore this clear plastic mask, which essentially was like no discernible features for a guy committing crimes. And I forget if he had stuff he wore over the mask and stuff, but that was the thing. He wasn't like a full-on shapeshifter. But Falseface's gimmick was that he did what that original Clayface did, only a little better, in which he would like use his makeup abilities to make himself look like different people. So he was wearing a face. He had like a fake face, and like traditionally, like when he was in his off hours, he wore like this black mask over his face, but not like black mask, just like a little cloth. Anyway, so the point being, we did some deep pulls on this for our villains, and you will see Cobra return. Also, the second
that dragon.
What?
Cobra's lame. I don't want to see Cobra return.
Well, you're gonna have to put up with him for 2 more episodes. One of them you might like, though. The other one, you're not. One of them you're not gonna like, though.
Oh God. All right, so Dragon, we have a familiar face in the chat here. Richard's Victims. He says, "I have returned from my vacation from being a chatter in the Imagineer YouTube channel. How dare you take a vacation from us, Richards? How dare you?"
We are a lot.
Yes, we are. Richards, I hope you had a good holiday season. I'm glad to see you back for sure. Let's see. Code Geass says Falseface's design was considered too scary for kids, so he never returned to the series. Yeah, like I said, especially in the third act, we really have kind of like a Nolanized version of Clayface.
I think he's referring to '60s Batman, Tiki.
Oh, okay. My bad.
I think because he wasn't a returning bat foe. At least I believe that's what he was referring to.
All right. So, Dragon, you ready to just dive right into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we start at the airport. Nelson is getting back from spring break.
Yeah, Terry, Dana, and Chelsea.
Spring break, Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't know where I'm going with that.
All right. So basically Dana and Chelsea have dragged Terry along because Chelsea promised that she had like an on again, off again thing with Nelson, I guess, still. So she's kind of saddled with picking him up. So Terry's along for the ride too, where he kind of has to come along because Dana's there. He's kind of luggage. He's the luggage jockey.
Basically, yes.
Anyway, so they're picking up Nelson. Nelson's having some trouble at customs.
Dragon, when you're going through customs and they find like an unidentified virus in your bag, it's no big deal. We've all been there. They just wave you along.
Yeah, it's like the post credit scene of Planet of the Apes all over again.
Oh God.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes all over again. But yeah, so someone has snuck a vial into Nelson's bag, and I like how Seth Green plays this scene. By the way, just the whole thing, like genuinely, Nelson is usually kind of like the blowhard, kind of like kind of. He's not like an evil villain, like an evil bully or anything, because he's got layers, but he's no Flash Thompson by any stretch, and they know that.
He's no Flash Thompson as far as the layers go, but I also feel like he was never as mean as Flash Thompson was as at his meanest, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of there. He's just kind of like a vaguely sort of jerkish guy who could also be nice depending on the circumstance.
I still think one of the funniest things was Spider-Man the Animated Series, which, by the way, did you ever do the full binge on Spider-Man the Animated Series or no?
I haven't even started that. I need to at
Yeah.
some point.
You really should, especially before the last Spider-Verse, man.
Yeah, before the last Spider-Verse, sure.
Right.
I have like 2 years.
I'm
So.
just saying. Well, I'd urge you. I'd usher you to do it soon. Well, it's not soon, but I'm just saying soonish because they got rid of Spectacular Spider-Man on
Dragon,
Disney
those
Plus.
poor animators. They can't be too soon.
Well, true. It's a 5-season show. I mean, it'll take you some time, but
Fair
I'm,
enough.
I'm just saying because they got rid of Spectacular like in a drop of a hat, just without telling anyone.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh.
With all the ridiculous things they can do at Spider-Man, you never know.
Hey,
Anywho,
Dragon, I need to address this because Richard's Victims is making me. I still need some answers. Why is the guy staring at the kid's chest? Kinda sus. Dragon, what's up with that? You're the one that picked the image.
well, he's not looking at his chest.
He's looking right at his chest, Dragon.
I don't know. Do we need like a Zapruder like eye chart here? Like you can tell, like the pupil is looking at Batman's chin, even though the head is like pointed like at the body. I don't know.
Oh, God. All right, let's see. Code Geass says it's interesting that Tiki compares False Face to Clayface because one of the comics based on the '60s series revealed that False Face was Clayface.
Yeah, that was a recent thing.
I'm still legitimately kind of confused as to like. It seems like they're more or less kind of the same character, honestly.
Well, no. Tiki, what he's talking about is like the recent '60s Batman comic that recontextualized like. We added Bane in there, like we added like Poison Ivy, like we're doing the stuff that '60s Batman was. So when they did Clayface,
like Bane and Poison Ivy don't even need to be reimagined. Just literally use the Batman and Robin versions.
Yeah, seriously, that's one you really do need to read.
I would like to read that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jeff Parker,
I'm all good for. I'm all down for some good reconstructed '60s Batman. All right.
Yeah. Anyway,
Richard's Victim says, "Oh, you have a virus in your bag, sir? Well, don't let it happen again. You're free to go. Hey, you also have a Decoration Deerhead. You're under arrest." Oh, good old airport security. Am I right? Do you remember that Shaggy and Scooby worked airport security?
Yes, Tiki, I remember that. Yeah, it was great.
All right, anyways.
They're a customs agent eating all the food.
Yeah, exactly. But they were probably also compensating all the weed.
Oh, come on, why you gotta make it dirty?
I'm just saying that probably was happening. Probably not hard drugs, Dragon, but definitely the weed.
You gotta corrupt America's youth.
All right. Anyway.
Can't just have a man and his dog eat a lot of food. You always got to.
Dragon, look, the James Gunn movie pretty much blatantly spelled it out. Like between the smoke coming out of the van and the Mary Jane thing.
Yeah, that started as a James Gunn movie. It turned into something else.
Anyways.
Anyway. God, I'm trying to remember where I left off.
The guys, I think he just let Nelson off with a pass.
Well, I was going to say, with the Flash Thompson thing, Spider-Man the Animated Series, there's this gag where Flash Thompson, to take pot shots at Peter Parker, he dresses up like Spider-Man to threaten him, saying, "I don't like you taking my pictures." And just the way Peter Parker played that scene is phenomenal. It's so funny. Anyway, but yeah, so he lets Nelson off, tells him to be more careful, and secretly has swiped the vial, and that is revealed to be False Face.
Uh-huh.
Bum bum bum. The morphs and reshapes the face. Very much a nod to Feet of Clay without Clayface operating, but before his whole body was saturated in Renew You.
But like I said, Dragon, I'm sorry, I cannot get over how dumb the leader of the Cobras looks. He looks so fucking dumb.
How dare you, sir? That's a Jack Kirby design, you maniac.
Okay, you know what? If this was a Marvel show, it wouldn't look dumb. It wouldn't look out of place. But this isn't a Marvel show, now is it?
Is it? Well, Tiggy, when you look at Batman Beyond, do you see all the Marvel Spider-Man parallels to our take on Batman Beyond? I mean, we already have a villain who's
No,
essentially
you're
Craven the
not
Hunter.
wrong. You're not
We have
wrong.
spell.
I still think just visually the design just clashes with the aesthetics of the show. But
Admit,
anyway,
I'll meet you halfway. All right. Admittedly, Cobra was always a weird pull for Batman Beyond. I think they used it sparingly. Oddly, here's the thing. Oddly,
it just seems like we're overcomplicating the world dragon. That's basically my big problem.
honestly, what I think it was, I think the issue is that they had a lot. Season one of Batman Beyond is like corporate espionage, and then you have like a lot of Interpol kind of guys from all over in terms of like international like hired people like to take out Batman or do some bad
Right,
stuff
right.
and terrorism and stuff. And in doing that, it's like, well, how can we like make the terrorism not just guys in suits? Well, we're
Yeah,
gonna
you're
put them in
right.
snake. We're gonna use the ones that are in snake costumes, which aren't really Batman villains, but it's like it's part
No,
of the
they're
DC
a
universe.
very specific other IPs villains.
So yeah, the point is, it's more of a Justice League threat than it is like a Batman threat.
And
Period.
that's the thing. I would buy it more in Justice League.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would.
So admittedly, and of course, you recently too, you saw Invincible doing kind of a nod to Cobra.
Yes, yes, and I got to admit that is exactly what crossed my mind when I first
Well,
saw
that's where they got it. They got it from essentially they got it from this, which more so the comic, but essentially they got it from this.
It's a snake eating its own tail.
Yep.
I thought you'd be more proud of that one.
No, I appreciate that. There's such a thing as quiet pride, Tiki.
Anyways.
Anyway, the sound, the pat on the back doesn't need to have an echo.
Oh my god. Okay.
All right. So anyway, so Nelson, he is he's welcomed. We do the old cartoon polka dot briefs gag, polka dot boxers gag. He's asking Terry why he's there. He's along for the ride, and he tosses his bag at him. Meanwhile, Stalker attacks Nelson, and he basically hooks him like a fish practically by his shirt on the hunter staff. And
then Seth Green just is the most Seth Green that I have ever heard him in this show thus far.
Yeah.
Dragon. This is where you can really hear like the nerd from Robot Chicken coming out in him. Oh no! By the way, Code Gios asks, this is appropriate place to bring it up. Was Seth Green cast as the bully in this show meant to be a casting gag because he normally plays nerdy characters?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what the idea was. But fun fact, Seth Green was in Batman the Animated Series. Actually one of my favorite episodes.
I think I do remember that, yeah.
Do you remember what the episode was?
No, I just remember him being there. I'm sorry, I don't have that good of a memory.
Got me really excited there for a second. The episode was I Am the Knight, the one where Gordon gets shot. He plays the youth that Batman helps and steers in the right direction. That's a young Seth Green.
Role. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so that's they kind of that's not why they put him in this, because Seth Green done at this point. This was Seth Green, I believe, post Buffy, I think. So the point being, Seth Green
plays nerds and chill werewolves. So
that's the thing. So Bruce Timm loved the Buffy show, so that's why he liked putting in some Buffy references. That's why we have this little piggy episode as well. Anyway, so yeah, but that's why he was casting roles, the diametrically opposite Seth Green.
But yeah, when he's being like literally dangled by Stalker Spear, he is very much in like Robot Chicken nerd mode. It's like, hey!
So he tells him, where he got the vial, and Stalker has his information. But here's just really not fair here. If the threat is dropping him, he just drops him anyway. Like, where's the logic in that? Nelson should be in traction at least.
Oh God.
He seems fine, honestly. He seems like I need a clean pair of shorts. Those are polka dot shorts, but he's got them. All right, so Terry goes to get help. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. He goes to get help. We have a little fighty fight in the baggage area between Batman and Stalker. Stalker explains, you misread the situation. I'm hunting a different prey, not you this time. And then Agent Bennett from the Zeta episode, that fast.
Yeah, I remember him. It was kind of cool to see him pop up, but at the same time, uh, Dragon, essentially, like what I'm worried about, and maybe this is kind of why Cobra threw me through a loop as much as it did, is essentially between Zeta and then this episode where Bennett's suddenly coming in and we got like a government organization in multiple episodes in a row. It kind of feels like the show is just ever so slightly reshaping itself. Does that make sense? With like, introducing like the government side of it and then introducing Cobra, it's just a lot of world building thrown into these last couple episodes. Does that make sense at all?
It does make sense, and again, I do think it still stems from the idea of like Batman, because of honestly just the aesthetic of everything. Again, as I said, when you look at Neo Gotham has very much kind of an import vibe to it, where it looks like there's a lot of Asian architecture, a lot of Asian influence in the architecture, and presumably over time, Wayne Powers probably they went overseas because again, Wayne Powers because Derek Powers went to like the militaristic direction with things, which Bruce Wayne is very opposed to, and that probably led to a lot of outside contractors and stuff into the city. Because of that, we have like all the international stuff, which brings about the more global and governmental kind of things. So based on that, retroactively, it kind of works well because you have like Bruce Wayne always says he has contacts in Interpol, and by Justice League, you see well if we did a DC anime universe that included Batman on the Justice League, he would get around more, and therefore be able to maybe.
Honestly, so again, I do think it's the spacing of the episode. I think it's just the fact that like I said, it just seems like we're introducing a lot of stuff into the universe very quickly, which I'm not used to with these DC shows.
So yeah, I think you're right about it. I forgot completely that was back to back like this. In terms, like I gotta be honest, every time I completely forgot. I knew there was a government guy that told Batman that Stalker was with. I completely forgot.
Yeah, it kind of threw me for a loop because I was like, "Oh shit, is this guy just going to be like a regular part of the show now?" And honestly, Dragon, because this is like at this point we're like almost 8 minutes into the episode, Bruce Wayne hasn't showed up yet. I was like, "Is this motherfucker stealing Bruce Wayne's spotlight?" That thought honestly went through my head just a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
All right. Again, honestly, every time I think of Agent Bennett, though, I keep thinking of the Zeta Project, which is like one day this man will be voiced by Kurtwood Smith, and it'll be awesome.
Oh, Dragon! By the way, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I watched it.
You did it.
Yeah, I did it.
One could say, I'm proud of my boy.
We'll talk about it on Memoirs. I did it.
Okay.
I watched RoboCop for the first time, folks. I finally did it.
He finally did it. He's become a man, a robot man.
Enough, it popped up on Max. Like
I know. I saw that too. Literally, I was when I was going to Babylon on Max. I was like, oh my god, there he is. He's gotta watch it now. It's fate.
It's a sign. I have to watch it now.
The stars have aligned. I guess the Max has aligned.
RoboCop. All right, now you can get on Code Geass instead of me, Dragon. Because I have seen RoboCop. God damn it!
It's like
I still credit that one random line from What If for pushing me over the edge.
I'll take it. Hey, if Haley Atwell can steer in
it's like, what? If it's good enough for Natasha, it's good enough for me.
If Black Widow can steer you in the right direction, I'll take it. Took a trained ex-assassin to get you to watch RoboCop. I'll take it.
All right. Anyway.
So, I mean, all this, there have been a lot of signs for, anyway, we're drifting off focus. Okay, so, point being, Agent Bennett here, he basically gives us the down low here that Stalker has been essentially his services are being employed so they can find False Face.
So
essentially, Cobra they have a super virus, and Cobra, the terrorist organization has demanded 10 billion credits. For them not to release the super virus, which is bad.
In a way, it's a little bit like the Bane thing from Dark Knight Rises. It's basically like trying to hold the city hostage.
I mean, essentially, yes. And we have this little mini flashback here. We kind of exposit like how bad this thing is. Now, this is really haunting to me. I completely forgot how haunting this was. Where we see that it was tested on an island, and because of the devastation, you see like guys in hazmat suits like burning the whole island to asunder because it's all infected. And again, this takes it back to like going back to season 1, where we had like the off-screen like horrors of like chemical warfare in Batman Beyond. So we're paying off some runners that we've had here with like, the terrorism and just kind of the international kind of like weapons, weapons and kind of war deployments and such.
Sure.
So yeah, so Falseface, he was hired to smuggle it into Gotham, which I got him in the writing. I do wonder how he did smuggle in there, because it looks like how we're kind of missing like in the flashback somewhere of like him somehow that vial getting dropped in Nelson's bag.
It seems like honestly, Nelson even being involved in the first place seems like kind of like an over convoluted step.
Yeah, because it makes me wonder. Okay, so he's a customs. Like if you do the mental
Right,
math, it's like
right.
okay, so I guess Falseface was there. He slipped into his bag, and I guess he somehow got a flight ahead of him, and he basically pretended to knock out the customs
Yeah,
guy.
it doesn't really make sense, honestly.
Admittedly, not. I don't think.
Hey, Krug, does it make sense? Well, I don't know. By all accounts, it doesn't make any sense.
It's not an eyewitness episode for Rich Fogel. It feels like this week.
Now I'm just imagining Krug with like a map of like the two planes.
Well, yeah, you see, and he gets his peanuts here, and then there's going to be a tailwind, and there's accounting for that before you get on the flight.
Very simple, Dragon. It's called private planes. They can take off and land whenever they want. They don't have to deal with commercial air travel. That's how we got there so fast.
And then there was a detour, Dr. Pavo.
Nice work, pal.
Dr. Pavo on the plane went on its nose, and then anyway. Okay, in all seriousness.
These little duties. All right, anyways.
Okay, the point being, Falseface, he smuggled into Gotham somehow. They need Stalker to help using his tracking skills to find Falseface, because if this thing gets released, it's 12 million people dying. Which is not good. So, Terry loops Bruce Wayne in, and he's, Terry, very smart, is worried about a double cross here after the guy tried to kill him last time. He has like a, very much a Spider-Man Craven kind of obsession with Batman. Again, a little retroactive since we killed him off last time. Anyway, so the big,
like I said, Bruce Wayne is just very, very sparingly used in this episode. Just very like a throwaway line here and there.
Yeah.
Which is pretty disappointing coming off of an episode where he wasn't in it at all, I gotta say.
Yeah.
All right. So we're at Muscle City, Dragon. I gotta say, I love the exterior of Muscle City.
In my head canon,
this giant statue of a big muscle-bound gold man, literally carrying the world on his shoulders.
Okay, real quick before we get to Muscle City, I just want to say, I mean, it's kind of a nice kind of like the stakes have been set kind of line for Bruce though. The whole we have a bigger problem. We got to find the virus in the next hour, or we'll all be dead.
I mean, look, I'm glad that he's here. I'm just saying it literally like it doesn't. I don't know. I kind of feel like with stakes this high, Bruce probably should have been more involved. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, let's see.
Code Geass, really quick. Code Geass says, we need an episode where Two-Face, Clayface, and Falseface have a face-off. Maybe Bruce Wayne doesn't like Stalker, so he purposely didn't do much. Yeah, but that's a disconnect, though. It's like he doesn't really seem all that concerned when, honestly, Dragon, this might be the highest stakes of any fucking Batman Beyond episode so far, honestly, if you really break it down.
Yeah.
But Bruce is just kind of like, I'm going to be playing Galaga on the back computer, Terry. Like, let me know if you need me.
He's not doing Galaga, he's doing his taxes.
All right, fair enough.
He's doing his
but
back
you
taxes.
know that man has Galaga on that back computer, Dragon.
Sure. Anyway. So, so we go to Muscle City, which I like to think is a nod to Schumacher.
It is very Schumacher-esque, yeah.
I was saying Schumacher had like the giant muscle build. Like,
yeah, he had the whole like giant statue built into the architecture thing.
Yeah. Anywho, let's see. So they're going to Muscle City, which admittedly, okay. Look, in this episode, I think we're cutting corners, like pacing wise, because we find the place pretty quick. There's a bunch of leads, and we found like stop numero uno was where they were.
Right.
Essentially, it's a little easy.
So like I said, I enjoy the stuff with Terry and Stalker, but I do think that it gets a little bit repetitive because like at least 3 different times in the episode, Terry is just very blatantly like, last time we met, you tried to kill me, remember? And it's like, yeah, Terry, but he's clearly not trying to kill you now. So maybe you two might want to work together a little bit more. I don't know. Just a little
Also,
nitpick on my end.
so let's do highlight this. Carl Lumbly does a good job here. You know, as
Well,
far as
yeah, of course, he always does a great job. But I'm just it's not the performance; it's more the writing. I'm kind of questioning it a little bit.
yeah, it is a nice line that he has. The whole like there, Terry brings up the whole like like you don't trust me. Well, you did try to kill me last time. Well, were there worse things than an honorable death? It's probably a short list though. All right, so they both do. They're both kind of making competing stealth moves to disable the cameras.
Now that's the kind of stuff that's pretty fun to see. That kind of team up stuff.
I do love this exchange here, where I love the exchange where like Terry he uses the stealth, uses the camouflage on the bat suit to kind of infiltrate and kind of listen in after his real stealthy approach. He's using like little R2D2 kind of like kind of control panel hacking like features of the fingertips to get in there. They find the base. Batman uses the camouflage to infiltrate over here so they can find out where the virus is. Stalker just swoops in, just takes them all out before they get any intel. And that makes a really good point here, just saying like, yeah, he made quick work of them, but like why didn't you wait? Never hesitate. It's kill or be killed in the jungle. Well, hey, it's not the jungle. Okay, this isn't false face.
You're right.
Now everyone's comatose. What? How are we gonna find out? So then Stalker again, to his credit though, Stalker has like a sixth sense with reading people, and he kind of figures, well, they're the alpha. He was the alpha dog of the pack, so he might have something on him. So they find a little disc, which conveniently, why would he have a map on him? So I'm saying this is not Rich Fogel's finest 22 minutes.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's
There's
not.
a lot of. I feel like those kind of conveniences are kind of like throughout the episode. Honestly.
Yeah. So they go to Gotham Manufacturers Plastics. Now, this is a really good location, by the way. It's the idea of with how it fits into how they're going to distribute the virus and the fact that, well, the creds have to be made somewhere.
Uh-huh.
But again, it's interesting, like the way the creds get made. It's like less. It's less a financial. It's not going to be Fort Knox because the credit cards. You're just going to put it basically works like gift cards in the future. They're going to put money on those cards, but like digitally. So there's no. You don't need tons and tons of security. They're just making the billions of plastic cards that people are going to carry around with them.
Yeah, which is like for me, like the equivalent would basically be like, could you imagine if when the government sent out the stimulus checks, they laced the stimulus checks with like an even worse version of COVID?
Yeah, I mean, think of it this way, Tiki. Now, this was a deleted plot point in Batman '89, but originally the idea was all the money that Joker was throwing out was supposed to be laced with the Joker toxin.
Oh, right. I remember that. Yeah.
I think it's in the novelization or something, but that's essentially what the whole. That if you ever apparently if you freeze frame, you look real close, you'll see like Joker's face on the money.
Uh-huh.
So that was the idea, and they didn't really have time for that. So it's Joker like luring everyone there for the balloon plan, but it was kind of a dual thing, I guess. Anyway, I think that I don't know if it was the idea was they wanted the balloons and they wanted to make the balloons more functional. So okay, so we're gonna pop the balloons, and that's what's gonna Joker toxin everyone, or it's gonna pump out the gas.
Sure.
Anyway, so here's something kind of neat though with the Kirby aesthetic though. They're all driving the big old curvy hover cycles, which were I believe made popular in the Avengers.
Totally.
You just turn on the Avengers like Hawkeye always very much had like a hover cycle. I don't know if Kirby was responsible for that one. It's a very Kirby-esque aesthetic, the whole hovering cycle thing. All right, so anyway, so we're here, and then we reveal the horrifying plan to basically coat all of the cards with the virus, and we demonstrate this in a really creepy way with Dana and Chelsea like going shopping, just to show like, yep, it'll just be spread that way. It's like, oh no,
Yeah, that is a very effective, like, kind of like way to show how it's going to be basically non-preventable. It's like it's just people going about their lives.
Yeah, it's the fact that we see like people we're kind of familiar with, Dana and Chelsea.
Uh-huh.
They'll have no way to stop it. So basically, that was their contingency for the ransom. You know, that thing is that they'll have no way to stop if we don't get like the creds that we want. You know, we're gonna poison their creds, and they'll have no way of stopping it.
Also, I'm just gonna call this out. Does the lead Cobra Commander dude just resemble Daredevil at all to you?
Well, I mean, it's because he has like the lower part of his face
Yeah,
exposed.
it's the lower part of his face. It's the fact that the eyes are kind of blocked out. Well,
I don't
actually,
know.
his eyes aren't blacked out, but it's like it's got that weird thing where it's like I don't know if they're supposed to be his actual eyes or the mask eyes, or I don't know. It looks vaguely Daredevil esque.
Oh, again, pulling from Kirby, so I know Kirby wasn't the original artist on Daredevil. He did some Daredevil.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, you had Bill Everett, and then you had Ramita.
All right. So, anyways, Batman and Stalker, they're swooping in. I will say Stalker is in definitely he's in fine form this episode, action
Yeah.
wise. I really think he adds kind of a dynamic energy to the action.
Yep. Does this really cool thing where like Falsey's trying to get away on the cycle, and he basically clotheslines him.
Knee to the face.
Well, elbow to the face.
Elbow to the face. All right, all right.
But yeah. So then the vial goes flying when he does this, and it's on the conveyor belt. And we have like this big like press that basically slams down to create the creds. And Batman just sees this. Oh god! He saves at the last second using the rocket boosters, and it slams into this giant pile, this giant like wall stack thing of creds. Which, by the way, painful as it looks really fun. So it's like going through like it's like a big pile of plastic leaves almost.
Now that's something I could see them doing at a convention or something.
Yeah.
Just like a big pile of Batman Beyond creds, just like the Scrooge McDuck vault.
Or you gotta imagine like you have like back credit cards just stacked.
Oh my god, yes.
It's
Yes.
like a novelty thing of like, here's what we say to this. And we just like we throw like a Warner Brothers executive into the to the credit cards. This is what your money gives you.
Dragon, if you had a chance to get a Bat credit card, would you?
Do you mean like an actual functioning credit card
Yes.
with Batman? Yeah.
I would too. I would too.
Yeah.
All right, Kogi, I'm gonna read off some Kogias comments here. Let's see. They made fun of Joel Schumacher in an episode of the new Batman Adventures. The lack of respect for Schumacher does bother me.
It wasn't that bad what they did to Schumacher in that cameo.
I remember it.
It was cute.
Honestly, I thought from what I remember of it, I thought it was kind of loving. Honestly,
and look, I want to just set the record straight. Bruce Timm, he said he didn't hate Bat. Here's the reference in that was about Batman Forever. It was I believe before Batman and Robin.
I'm not sure if it's still a hot take or not, but like for me, I would much rather watch Batman and Robin than Batman Forever. Because Batman and Robin just does not take itself seriously at all. Whereas Batman Forever is like a really fucking goofy movie that also tries to take itself seriously. And the disconnect there is just like between like Tommy Lee Jones just acting like an idiot and acting like nothing like how Two-Face is supposed to act. And then the Chase Meridian thing, who's like by far the worst love interest Batman's ever had on screen. Like, yeah, I don't think Batman Forever holds up as well as people think.
Look,
but I think Batman and Robin has aged like fine wine if you consider the the fact that it's basically supposed to be a big cartoon.
Look, Batman Forever I think has two elements in it that taking those elements out, I think the movie actually is pretty solid. At least solid enough. It's not going to stack up against anything, but I think it's an enjoyable movie. I mean, admittedly, Chase Meridian and Tommy Lee Jones are the elements of that movie that do not work.
Yeah, it's like obviously the performances of Batman and Robin aren't great either, but they're fun. That's the difference.
Well, yeah, still you get a lot of really good stuff in Batman for like Kilmer's Batman. Kilmer
is a good Batman.
He's a very underrated Batman.
Harder than Clooney is. I'll give him that credit.
Kilmer, I might go as far as say Kilmer might be the most underrated Batman.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Might be. As I'm saying, and plus there's the whole like the edits that were made to it. So I wouldn't say what we did with Two-Face anyway. Slice it, even if we did have better Two-Face scenes, Anyway.
Right. Kokios, I actually agree with this. He says it's really hard to hear the name Stalker without it sounding weird. He needs a new name. Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that. I can't argue with that.
Yeah, we'll call him the Predator.
Code Geass also says Batman Forever has some
Mhm.
great scenes that were cut out. Val Kilmer is my third favorite Batman behind Adam West and Michael Keaton. I mean, that's totally fair. I don't think I would put him above Christian Bale, but I could see the argument for putting him above Christian Bale. If you just don't like Christian Bale's Batman voice, I could certainly see
Wait,
the
who's your top
argument there.
Batman, Diggy?
My top Batman?
Yeah.
Honestly, probably Adam West.
Okay.
Like just for sentimental, either Adam West or honestly, either Adam West or Pattinson.
Okay.
Like Pattinson for like, if we're talking like a serious, like, like actual like layered performance, and then Adam West if we're talking just iconic.
Hmm.
Anyways.
All right, anyway. So sort of refocusing a bit here. We have some action there. Batman, he saved the virus. Nice bit where Stalker runs over to him and checks and lets he kind of lets Falseface get away, show a little bit of growth there because the virus is his prime reason for being there. So he wants to make sure it didn't shatter anything. He might be contemplating, might have to kill Batman if he's infected. So Cobra then taunts Batman. Basically, the whole is it over? Oh, you think it's over? Ha ha. So then Stalker, we kicked your scaly butt, says the Batman. Then Stalker grabs our leader of Cobra here and is interrogating him.
Awesome threat, dude.
Yes, it is. It's so cool, isn't it? So Stalker grabs the leader.
Like this is the kind of energy I really like from this team up because this is something that you would never see Batman do.
So Stalker grabs the leader and the giant like cred press behind him, like stomping down. He basically he holds him close to it, basically threatening to let it crush his head if he doesn't talk. So Plan B was Falseface. They infected Falseface. So just in case things went belly up, he would be a carrier and he'd infect everyone anyway.
Uh-huh.
So Stalker punches the cocky Snake Man. And then we're outside. They have no idea where he is, but Stalker's got this, buddy. He's got this, using his tracking skills during when this again cleverly. He didn't just let Falseface. When Falseface got away, he threw the little tracking powder from the Bloodsport episode at him, which is a nice callback.
Sure.
That's what he used to find Batman. So he used that trick to find him. Stalker he tries telling Falseface that he's infected, but Falseface ain't having it. Okay, here's something we got to talk about. Falseface, apparently his signature weapon, it's less subterfuge, it's more using the almighty taser, all over the place. He's using this taser for everything.
Don't tase me, bro.
Exactly. I mean, he uses the he uses the taser on Stalker. This I think is the only time he actually needed the taser. Okay, he used the taser on Stalker, electrified his spine is his kryptonite because of the spinal injury he suffered, and electricity is the weakness. That makes sense. That tracks. That's fine. So again, basically his spine kind of acts as a conductor. So Batman checks on him, and awesomely Stalker just kind of grabs him, and Carl Lumbly doing his thing here, just saying, "Continue the hunt. He must not escape." So Batman's on the case here. Clock's ticking. Bruce
I could
Wayne.
totally see Craven and Spider-Man teaming up in a similar dramatic moment, like Craven being taken down and continue the hunt, Spider-Man.
Now, I got to admit, Tika, this one actually is, at least the closest thing I got to a Greg Conroy. This moment here where Bruce Wayne chimes in, it's a very Batman line to me. That's why. Where he says, keep looking, he's there somewhere.
Yeah, that was if there is a great Conroy moment, it's probably that too, specifically because, like you said, it is just a very utilitarian thing that Batman would say.
It's just the fact, it's the urgency of the situation. He's telling him, go with your instincts. He's there. You use your detective skills. Fine, he's there. It's the mentorship in a line, though. That's what he does. Terry looks around why is Nelson there?
It's honestly probably the weakest great Conroy moment we've ever written in, but I'll accept it.
Anyway, so Nelson, he sees Nelson again using those detective skills. Batman's just kind of pressing on him there. It's hey, why is Nelson so well dressed and why is he randomly here? So he punches his face off. So with the punch, we reveal the true face of Falseface, which is ugly.
Oh my god, it's Seth Green.
So yeah, now by the way, the look of False Face here, I'm pretty sure it's like the look of his real face is a nod to Lon Chaney, like is like the Phantom of the Opera, somewhat, like a little.
Oh, I could totally see that. Yeah, for
That's what
sure.
I'm saying, which I'm pretty sure is the whole gimmick behind. Again, it's what we were going with, like 40s Clayface and probably kind of like False Face in the 60s Batman episode.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, how did you know? I'm trying to remember what he. Not enough pimples, which is a line that
That's a
doesn't
great
make a.
line.
It's a good line. Nelson never really had pimples though. I don't really. It's
Well,
a.
I mean, animation doesn't really have that much detail back then, so I can accept that.
It's a cute line though. I'll give. It's fine. So
Yeah.
then Batman gets tased, and we're doing it too much now. He gets tased. They get into a tussle. False Face is putting up way too much of a fight here for a third. So he's, they get into a tussle. They go over the side, of the elevated sidewalk, and they fall into like a laundry cart. I don't know why there's laundry there, but there it is. We have, unfortunately, because it's been so long since we've had. I don't have the count in front of me, but we have a Terry and a McGinnis in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce is like,
We
Terry.
do.
So False Face, he gets taser happy as he uses the taser to catch some laundry on fire, chucking flaming laundry carts at Batman. They're on fire, which leads to a big old fire, which kind of leaves us some nice kind of coloring on the scene. Let's see. So then he keeps whacking Batman with a lead pipe, which oddly in this episode is the one we do this in, but a few parallels to the big scene in Rebirth where Batman's beaten with a giant wrench, and it kind of goes
Sure,
to show you,
sure.
like, the younger Batman versus a Batman kind of like in not great physical condition. You know.
Uh-huh.
All right, so then let's see. Then we have the elastic face punches as there's a laying into this guy's like rubbery face, like boing boing.
And
But
like I said, it's like we are very much like if Nolan were to do Clayface, I imagine this is kind of what it would look like. You know what I mean? Just like definitely still the figure, like it's not going to go all anime like the Batman the animated series did, but it's still going to be distorted and fucked up and disturbing.
I still say, like, look at the first part of Feet of Clay before his whole body gets saturated in it. Nolan could absolutely pull
Yeah,
that
no,
off.
for sure, for sure.
Just a man like
So
using a
Gias
chemical.
does make a good point here. He says the fact that we've never had Nicolas Cage play False Face is such a missed opportunity for real life face off.
We know what villain he wants to play in the Batman sequel. He wants to play Egghead.
Oh my god, he'd be wonderful for that.
I mean, you heard that, right? He does want. He
I
wants to
have
play.
heard that, yeah.
I mean, look, I think False Face would be a good one for him, but yeah, he wants to be Egghead.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's see. But oh god, if he did play like Kite Man, he basically would be like the National Treasure character, but more villainous.
Oh god.
With the Ben Franklin obsession.
Right, right.
Okay. Anyway, so so we have some elastic face punches there, and he says Batman's saying, "I won't let you infect others." Place starts blowing up as it tends to in animation all the time in the DC
And I will say
universe.
the fire and the backgrounds and the reds, it is very like generally speaking, I don't really think this episode was doing much for me from an animation perspective. Like it was fine. Like, the Stalker certainly had a couple cool action beats for sure. But this climax, like the last 4 minutes or so, is very visually impressive with the fire lighting and everything.
Yeah. All right, so things are getting intense there. Then a Batman gets pinned under some debris, kind of Spider-Man style. There, seemingly will be impaled in the face by False Face. Yep, and he's starting to feel sick, and Batman's telling him like, hey, it's the virus. It's like, oh, it's impossible. They hired me. Well, they wouldn't infect me. He's like, what did you expect from a pack of vipers?
Now, I will say, seeing a villain basically go down via a virus specifically, it's a little disturbing. It's very real world disturbing, Dragon, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and we don't say that we saved him. Presumably, he's given that flashback earlier. It seems like there's no real cure to that virus. He's
Right, right. And obviously, it's like thank God. I feel like we're finally like, I mean, knock on wood. I don't think we're quite out of the woods yet with COVID, but we've made a lot of progress since 2020 at least. So, but man, could you imagine if we reached this episode like in 2020? How trippy that would be.
We got about a year left before we can like going
Yeah,
by,
no, that sounds about right. That sounds about right.
going by end game rules. We have a year left before.
Right, like
Yeah. Anywho, yes, but yeah, seriously, seeing him go down is rather. You're right, is rather chilling, and yeah. So then the Stalker shows up as Falseface runs into the fire.
this moment is both kind of cool and also a little bit silly, where it's like at this point Terry still kind of thinks that Stalker is gonna kill him. Because he's running at him like, "There you are, I found you."
You got to admit, on some level, though, think about this. Stalker achieved the directive. He has the virus. He did keep warning him, like afterwards, he'd be hunting him again.
Sure.
There's the threat of like him snapping and killing him. Admittedly, yes, but everything that he's done has still been in service of the mission. And if Batman seemingly is about to meet his maker, Stalker's going to be sure to make the killing blow before a fire gets him. So there is some tension here.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm saying we, the audience, are probably like, he's probably not going to do it, but still, logically, he has every reason to kill him right now, and I think Terry lucked out.
Fair enough.
All right, so he saves his bacon. We're on the outside there. They find Falseface essentially dying. I don't think he survives this. I'm pretty sure he's dead. Was about to die.
I think that's a pretty good assumption.
And then we have the moral here. Batman says, "You risked your neck to save me." And they have this great delivery by Carl Lumbly. "It was not your time. When you die, it will be by my hand and my hand alone." This Terry's bringing it home like, thanks, I guess.
I do think that's a charmingly awkward line to end on, honestly.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a Ron Stoppable ending line.
I mean, it does. It's the tough guy. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, Dragon, obviously this isn't one of my favorites. I do think there's a couple moments here and there. Like, I think if anything else, I certainly like Stalker in this episode a lot more than I liked him in the last episode. I certainly think that with him not just blindly hunting down Terry, I think he, I can distinguish him as his own character and not just blindly look at him as just like a blatant Kraven the Hunter ripoff. But unfortunately, like I said, I just think that the problem with this episode is that it just tries to do too much. It's, like the Cobra stuff, the Falseface, having the government agents. It's just a lot. And there's some decent premises in here. But like I said, it's like one of the big issues here is that I would say pretty definitively this is the highest stakes that we've encountered so far on the show, and Bruce is just kind of phoning it in. He really is. So yeah, it's not a great episode. It's got a couple redeeming moments, but definitely in the lower rung of stuff we've talked about so far. Oh God. Go Kiosk says, imagine if Warner Brothers gave Stalker his own film, like with what Sony's doing with
Okay, Craven. Honestly, I think Stalker would carry it more than Craven could. It's going to sound crazy, but I mean...
No, I hear you. Well, I mean, I will put it this way. I think a Stalker solo movie without Batman would carry a lot more than a Craven solo movie without Spider-Man.
I mean, think about this. Okay, in the Bloodsport episode, we had like this really, really well. It was the best part of the episode. We had like the flashback to Stalker's origin, like the whole red and black kind of like horrific flashback to surgery and everything, like him getting killed by almost nearly killed by that panther. It's there's I don't know. There's an interesting thing there, and he is not reliant on Batman. That guy, like before, we really put him in the crosshairs of Batman. Like, yeah, that guy's an interesting character.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, suffering from Craven comparisons. I'm saying in this situation right now, we're not doing Craven justice on screen, seemingly.
No, you're not.
I know we haven't seen the movie.
I never thought I'd see the day where Craven would be introduced in a movie that Spider-Man is not in, but here we are.
It's the dumbest thing of the Lion Blood. It's a
Aaron Taylor Johnson doing just as cringy of an accent as he was in fucking Age.
Well, no, that's the thing. He's not even doing the accent. Did you see the trailer?
Dragon, I watched it once. I don't want to watch it again.
I know, it's
remember
what I'm
it
saying,
having
but I
some
just
kind
mean,
of
like, it's the
accent.
dumbest. He's not even doing like the whole reason you get him is to do a bad Russian accent. He's not even doing that.
God.
It's like there's no point.
Kokia says it used to be Morbid time. Now it's Craven time.
I mean, we just have like Stefan Kappas like waiting by a phone all day. You know, I mean, come on.
Oh man, I know, dude. Seriously.
I
If
mean,
there was any
thankfully,
justice in this world, he would have played that role. I hear you on
but
that.
you know what? Memory
What?
serves. He's going to be in Deadpool 3.
Yeah, fair enough.
If memory serves, I don't know how official that was. I'm pretty sure they announced he was returning, but I would be
I mean,
shocked if he
he's been
did
in
not.
the first two. It'd be kind of weird for him to not be there, honestly.
That's the thing. I just don't know if they're going to have like two versions of Colossus or not. Like, have the good version, then have
I
like
would imagine that his role's probably going to be a little bit pared down from his role in Deadpool 2, I would imagine. But
yeah.
anyways. Now, the real question is, are we going to see Cable?
That is
That
a
I
really good
doubt.
question. I mean, Brolin said he wanted to come back, but it took him so long to do it, though, and he got wrapped up in Thanos land. So,
right. We'll see.
and again, Thanos is kind of dust right now. He's dust in the wind. Quite.
Kokia says Colossus is confirmed for Deadpool 3.
That's what I thought, and I'm glad to hear that. Yes.
All right. Okay, so yeah, any final thoughts on your end, Dragon, or you want to just take it out?
I mean, look, not one of my favorite episodes of Batman Beyond, and looking with a fine tooth comb. Yeah, the writing's it's not Rich Fogel's best, but the man brought us Eyewitness, so he's not all bad. It's fun seeing Stalker again. It is really hackneyed how we brought him back after we very clearly killed him off that first time. But it's. I am charmed that we did get Falseface in there. We found a way to take like kind of essentially I know he's not technically appeared in the comics, but essentially a cheesy, 60s Batman villain. We kind of used them in a very practical utilitarian way. I just wish we didn't make him so taser happy, but it's still. All right. So we thanked our commenters, didn't we?
I will do that right now. Big thanks to Kogias and Richard's Victims for joining us in the comments. Also, folks, I am very happy with the results of the Golden Tiki so far. We had 26 votes in the last poll for best needle drop, which I gotta say, that is about 20 more votes than I was expecting on average for these things. So I'm very happy that the Golden Tikis are going over well. The next category will be up tomorrow morning. All right, Dragon, take us away.
A gang of bionic thugs. A returning guest star. Sensational Shirley Walker sounds. Can Batman stop the tricked out gang and save the good doctor's wife? Or will this love story end in tragedy? Tune in next time to find out. Same animated bat time, same animated bat place.
On the next visit to Batcave Beyond with April Moon. Teaser face!